So,
Yeah, I just didn't know if you release it to some.
yeah, I mean, I would, but I got a lot of work to do on inside before I can do this.
Shall we begin? How's everybody?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Can you hear me on Zoom? Yeah. Fairly light agenda tonight. But we shall begin. Tori wrote up last month's draft minutes. And, well, I was wondering whatever happened with the capital for the day. I saw that it was in, that the governor was in town.
Yeah, they couldn't, so I think that, wastewater people were hoping that they could highlight this project, but sounded like their schedule was already full and, you know, they already had their agenda full. So maybe at another time.
But they could, they were in town though, it's a.
Yeah, I saw them, they met with, select board members first in Morrisville about public safety and so forth, emergency management, and then they went on to Hyde Park. I didn't attend that one. Was it more economic driven, I believe, because then they sent different department chairs and heads and commissioners out either there to, you know, different businesses and so forth. I saw they were at the liquor control was at the Wolcott store. But that's the only
Did
thing.
that coincide with the governor?
Yeah, it was part of
Oh,
this.
They.
So all his,
Tracking down.
no, all his commissioners and stuff, probably information, do they have questions, how are things going? Feedback to bring back to him. So it was an array of different, departments.
I met with a few folks at the Hyde Park Library.
Mhm. Right, so that's how they kind of did it.
Sorry, my pen died. Okay, do we have a motion for the
No
minute?
motion. To accept the February 18th.
Second, Bruce. Any discussion or updates or revisions? None? All in favor?
Right.
Opposed? Bradley and Alan, can you guys,
Vote.
we just had a vote on the minutes. We can do it again.
Sounds great.
Alan,
I
are you?
approve.
Thank you, Bradley. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Like your view.
Thanks. It's Wolcott.
With the leaves on the trees.
Leaves on the trees.
Alan, are you there? Yep.
Yep.
Did you approve the minutes?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And I don't think we have any opposed. No. All right, so carried. Peter, maybe we'll start with you and this. Yeah, I'm really curious if you had the results of the landowner mail-ins back to you and how that looked as far as participation, and then the yes, no, or yes, opt-out breakdown would be, if we could start off with that. And before I forget, Peter, I did have a landowner in the village contact me. What was this, Jackie Barr Purvis? She's on Route 15, and she's in favor of the project, but she has to do some driveway work. And she was wondering on the timing of the driveway work and whether to do the driveway work before or after the line goes in and the hookup. Can I give you her phone number, and maybe if you could reach out directly to her?
Yeah, I was gonna say that probably makes the most sense. We look at her specifics and where her sewer line is likely to go.
Again,
What was her name again?
Jackie Furr, I guess I'm pronouncing it correctly, Fehr. And then she has in parentheses Burgess.
HR.
She's under Burgess though as a landowner.
Okay.
And she lives right at the end of School Street, directly across. And she lives on a postage stamp lot.
Okay.
And her number, Peter, is 802-793-4169.
All right. We'll reach out
She
to her.
called while you were on vacation, and I was gonna let you know, but I figured you were gonna be swamped with email and phone calls, so I'd catch up the meeting. But
Yeah,
it's just a
sounds good.
question of timing. So with that, Peter, would you mind jumping into the mailing? And then we have a design update and a bunch of other stuff, but just really curious.
Yeah, sure. The mailing, I think to date we've gotten like 18 back, 18 responses. So not great, not horrible.
Out of how many? How many were mailed?
It's 9 minus, so 49 total is on the list. Of interest, I guess, 4 of those 18 are new yeses from our previous list. Either we hadn't heard from them or we thought they were no, either based on what they told us. And most of them are yeses. And there's couple no's, 2, 3 no's, I think.
So almost all yeses.
Mostly yeses are getting back to us. Yep. I guess we should probably chat about what the best next steps are. For the most part, we've heard from most folks one way or the other, like from the initial round to the second round, but there's quite a few that we have down as yeses from the first kind of pass through that haven't gotten back to us yet.
Could you send me that list so I could look at it? I have the old list. I sent one in today.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll send that over. We kind of pulled it together later this afternoon with all the updates. So I was hoping to get that over to folks before the meeting, but didn't. But yeah, I'll send that out and then folks can take a peek at that. I think, certainly we could probably start doing a little bit of outreach for the folks who have already sent back the original form with their contact info. That might be one approach.
Peter, did we, on the commercial side, did we hear from MSI or from the church, the Nazarene Church folks from California, or some of the bigger like Pete Johnson, or I'm just curious on the bigger properties?
So Pete Johnson and Fred Martin were 2 of the folks that returned their forms, and they both have multiple properties, I believe. We didn't get one from MSI, but one of my updates is that I had a good meeting with MSI, their engineer, Grenier Engineering, and a prospective tenant for the building. And so we're sort of right now it's kind of in Grenier's court to work with the potential tenant and kind of figure out their needs from a water and wastewater perspective. But it seemed from everything I was hearing, they're very enthusiastic about the project. And, I'd say at a minimum would want to maintain their existing capacity that the property's permitted for. And assuming things move forward with this particular tenant, I think they're anxious for it to happen as soon as it can. So I think they're on the very strongly yes end of things, but we haven't actually gotten the paperwork.
They were out there the other day preparing to drill a well.
Oh, is that what they're doing?
Well, they were digging to figure out where the septic lines were, but they said they were going to have the notch drill a well. That's what the workers were saying.
So the septic, yeah, I thought they were working on the septic.
No,
That's the area of the septic.
they're trying to locate it, and they're pretty sure they'd drill a well up toward the building, which means they need more water, which, I heard some rumors about what they might be doing, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how much I'm
Yeah.
free to share. I didn't really
It's
Well,
get that, but I think for
Please
sure
do.
they have water supply issues there, so it makes sense that they're working to
yeah,
drill another well.
yeah, most of those houses on that side do. I know Don does.
The Nazarene Church, I know that I thought she was a yes, but did she fill out the form?
That's a good question. I probably should have Alex on this call just because he's processing all these. I don't believe we've gotten one from her. But we have communicated with her, and I think she's a pretty solidly yes from what I understand.
I'm wondering, we're gonna need to do a follow-up pretty soon here, letter. Maybe as a kind of a way to prompt a response. Can we say, if we don't hear from you, we will assume you're a yes, you're not opting out, or is that too strong of wording? Should we put the onus on, they need to tell us if they want to opt out and the default is yes, or vice versa, I guess?
I think we need to hear from some of the folks that we haven't heard from, partly because we need access to their property and need to understand where we're going to design things and put tanks and all of that. So there's that one category of folks we just haven't heard from at all. But to answer your question, I guess that might not be too bad of an approach. Ultimately, we're going to need to be in communication with these folks, though, so we can get an actual easement from them. So,
I got trying to figure out. We're getting towards the end of approaching the second half of March here. There's going to be a tipping point here, and on the urgency side.
yeah.
As far as hearing back from folks.
I don't know. I think I would suggest some more targeted
Wednesday nights are open
outreach.
late. More targeted. Well, I'm just wondering if we could, in the follow-up letter, if we can word it a little bit more strongly.
Sure.
As that we need a decision. And if you want the system hooked up for free, the clock is ticking. It's something to that effect. And when are we thinking? And we can do some follow-up phone calls, I think, with the people that we know. But when should we do another mailing? What's our? I think we talked about an April 11th is the second one.
They're definitely still trickling in, but I would say early April sounds about right.
But maybe we could do some follow-up phone calls between now and then to as many as we can. Yeah, I think we should call everybody if we can. Yeah, to get, even folks, whether even if we think they're leaning no. I think it might be worth a phone call to everybody.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll have Alex kind of go back to the original forums and confirm who of those we heard from before that we haven't heard from, and what methods of contact we have, whether it's a phone number or email. And then I'll at least circle back with the committee, whether we'll do some outreach or if we need some help from you folks, and maybe circulating the list with at least that contact information you guys can peruse and be like, oh yeah, this person's a friend of mine. Like, I'm happy to call them, or whatever the case might be.
Peter, do you know who the no's were off the top of your head?
I have it in front of me, so I can tell you.
I think if you could send the list, that'd be very helpful.
Yeah. Allison Hayes and Dominic Laporte, they were a no. I think they had a legitimate opt out. Scott Bowers.
Where is he?
4403 Vermont Route 15.
4403.
Yep. And the other no, we got Frank and Deborah Davis
Yeah.
at 4339 Vermont Route 15.
Where are those?
It's just
It's right
right
at the
here,
top of
but
the
he
hill.
has a lot of land.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I talked to him about his system and he wasn't quite sure how he would vote. But the system had been there for a long time.
Peter, have you started to look at the land for those nodes?
We have, I don't know that I can get my fingers on that real quick, but I can, when I send this out, I can let you know what we know about that. I think of those no's, we only had one legitimate opt out. So I think that's probably another discussion the committee and or select board needs to start thinking about is, what are we going to do when people are saying no, don't want to do the easements, don't want to let us on their land to do the inspections, but don't really qualify for the opt out.
Well, we have to wait until the ordinance passes, so we have no
Fair, yeah, good
enforcement,
point.
which is
Right.
May 5th, I believe.
Okay, good.
It's already
So
been
there was another,
approved and it's posted and it's on its way.
yeah. And then I think it'll be a decision too, like how much money and effort do you want to go into? By then, hopefully, we have a better idea how many people we're talking about. Hopefully, not too many.
Well, I know that some people have turned around. I convinced Brian Dunbar to do it. He was a no, he had a no sign. So there are some people that are.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying. We have three that were either leaning no with a maybe no or a no or an opt out no, and we have four, I think, that switched from a no to a yes in our group. So that's pretty good.
Building. We had a buyout that is just changed their mind on the buyout, and I think he must have hooked up too.
Mm-hmm.
And we have did Ryan Berkey? He was one that wasn't in the original area, but we said that we can add him.
I'm sure he's a yes. But
Did he get a mailing?
Yes,
He did.
well, he should have, he was on my list, but then they did their own list. The whole
Is
thing.
is that the Flatiron Road
Yeah,
Yeah,
connection? Yeah. I don't know. Not well. I can look by street probably.
so this guy I picked up today, he had lost his, so I think some people might have just misplaced it. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, right. Ryan did return a yes to us.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, Michael O'Driscoll,
Yeah, he's in there.
is it yes?
Sure.
What about Kurt?
Michael O'Driscoll, he was a yes before, but he hasn't gotten back to us this round.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's easy enough to get. See, if you give me the list, then I'll start.
Sounds good. I'll probably I'll connect with Alex just in the morning and just ask him a few questions, and I'll send it off by mid-morning tomorrow. Oh, actually, Alex is out surveying. I'll probably just send this over then, and if you have any questions, I'll catch Alex on Friday.
So it might be good for maybe us to have, because our next wastewater meeting is going to be the 15th of April. Wondering if it'd be good for us to have a quick meeting about the second letter. If we want to mail it out before the 15th.
Like just a
or
quick-
or maybe we can just do it through email, but just so we get the wording of the letter. And when I say a little bit stronger language, like really maybe short and sweet, say we really need to know this is your chance to hook up for free, and the clock is ticking. But for the folks that want to opt out or don't respond, should we actually send them when we get closer to the drop dead date? Say we want you to sign almost this disclaimer that if you're opting out and your system fails, you're going to be most likely be required to hook up, and it's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars, or I don't know how we can word that, but do we want the opt out folks to really know what's at stake if they opt out? Either they opt out and said no in the form, or they haven't gotten back to us, and they're planning on not hooking up.
I'll have to review what we wrote, but I feel like we kind of tried to do that, make that very clear. But yes, at some point, I think there probably needs to be some sort of a, signed form where they're acknowledging that they're giving up this missed opportunity.
When we say that April 11th is going to be the second mailing, is that the day it goes out in the mail, or the day we want it to be in their mailbox? Did we get that? I wasn't there when we set that date.
Yeah.
Why are we even waiting that far?
Yeah, can we send it out sooner?
Why are we waiting that far?
I don't think we have to. I was envisioning a little earlier in April when I
I mean,
suggested.
it's because, the deadline was March 7th.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's worth us if nothing else, starting to figure out what that next letter looks like and coming up with some drafts right away, so that, really April's going to be here pretty soon. Right? It's like 2 weeks from today is April 1st, right? Yeah. So if we get going on it now, we'll probably have a letter ready around then, and I think we can just send it out whenever it's ready.
By the first, you're saying?
Yeah, like if we start drafting up something to present, and then have some back and forth, if anyone feels strongly enough that we need a meeting based on whatever we're throwing around, we can do that.
I like the idea of going out on April Fools.
All right, let's shoot for
Is
the
this letter
second.
going to everybody, or is it going to the nose and what's the purpose of it?
No, it'll go to the people that haven't responded.
They haven't responded,
In the
okay.
wastewater district.
Thanks.
Okay, any other discussion on the letter results of the second mailing? So do we, maybe Peter, if we could get something maybe from your office that last full week of March, which is in 2 weeks. Is that right? No, that's next week. Maybe towards the middle of next week, so we need to do any last minute editing. Just
Yeah.
what- a draft for your template. And then, so I don't know if the problem has been corrected, that there was not a return envelope in the first mailing, and I don't know who was gonna be
That's
responsible.
just, we did the mailing. So it was just not reading the letter. No
Yeah, it was-
communication of knowing that there was supposed to be one. We know now. We
Okay.
learned that lesson.
Okay, so the town is gonna do that then?
Yeah, the town mailed it out last time.
I mean, we'll have a return letter or envelope.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, well, thank you for that, Peter. Do you want to jump in on the design and permitting?
Yeah, we have made quite a bit of progress on the design plans are moving very quickly towards 60% design plans. At the same time, we are pulling together a list of sort of variance requests for DC and hoping to set up a meeting with Lynette and Nashawak in the next week or two to kind of go through, the various places where the step tanks in particular can't meet the various setbacks, and just kind of make sure we're all on the same page as to, in agreement of where we put them. So that's coming right along. This early spring is good for Amy. She's working with Jeff Hoffer, and they're trying to find times to get out now that things are thawed, to collect samples of some of the surrounding water supplies, which is going to be kind of one of the last pieces for trying to piece together groundwater flow underneath and around the school property. So hopefully that can happen soon, and that can kind of help our argument. We have met with David Poulin, the attorney, and had a good meeting to kind of discuss the easements, and we've provided him with our draft 30% plans and a list of the landowners, and he's getting going on starting to work some of those up.
Attorney for who, Peter?
That's
David
the
Polo.
town.
Okay.
Sorry if I got his last name wrong. What was it, Linda?
Polo.
Polo. Okay. So that's going well.
Regarding the easements,
What's that?
regarding the easements, is that?
Yeah.
Yes, he's moving forward on those, and we're kind of giving him batches of like, here, these are the ones you should be working on first, because we know they're committed and they want to sign up. I think it's going to be relatively straightforward for him. Some of the things we're just working out are like the recordings of what the plans will be, because he's going to reference those in his easement deeds. I guess maybe we talk about it a little bit more next meeting after we've heard more, but I think he's probably looking for a little bit more information if the town has the capacity and ability to sort of be doing the outreach with these landowners and the back and forth and getting signatures and all that kind of stuff, to kind of make his job less time consuming and faster and cheaper and easier. So that, to a certain extent, maybe that goes a little bit into the discussion of everyone looking at the list of folks and who knows who. And then as far as permitting goes, we're kind of moving forward with a bunch of those pieces. Kristen Rose of Rose Environmentals moving forward with the wetlands applications. Charlie Knight, who's our archaeologist, is kind of starting to do some of his preliminary work. Although we still need to work with Scott Dillon to get his approval on our like overall scope of work and everything. So that's all.
Archaeology, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everything's moving along pretty well, really. I think probably the biggest piece that still has to come together is some of that hydrogeology stuff, so we can circle back with the school and make sure we're satisfying them.
So Peter, Act 250, anything going on there? And also the bridge design, any updates there?
I haven't heard anything on the bridge design. Presumably they've gotten their bids and are working on selecting a contractor, but I haven't actually heard anything. We've kind of given them everything we needed to have our design incorporated into their bid package. So I think we're pretty good there.
What's a tentative construction start?
They that's a good question. I think
In this year.
what's that? They're trying to get the abutments exactly the abutments that don't require any adjustment of the existing bridge. They're hoping to get in this year. So like our pieces, other than maybe the knockout of where the pipe's going to go through the abutment. I don't think they're going to be doing a ton of the wastewater component till 2026.
March 3rd of 26 through September of 26, the road will be closed, and that's when they're doing.
Say those dates again.
March of 26 through September of 26.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lynette, did you have something?
Yeah, I had a question. I was wondering if Pete or the town could reach out to V-Trans and see what the final bid pricing was on this work so that we can track it for budgeting.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I'm curious too. Tim, what was the other thing other than the bridge that you asked about?
I said Act 250 amendment.
Oh, actually, we got a jurisdictional opinion from them that we don't need an overarching Act 250 permit, which is great. We do need to get an amendment for the work we're doing at the school property because they have an existing Act 250 permit. Not anticipating that to be a huge deal. So.
Do you need the hydrogeology to get the Act 250 amendment for the school?
No, but I do think we have to be a little further along in the indirect discharge permitting process to be able to submit that Act 250.
Two other quick questions. So I've been asked by a couple of different folks in town. So the phasing of the construction, I heard two different things previously, I think from you and Amy in the past. So are we going to start the construction this summer at the school first? And do you think we'll be ready to go while they're out of school?
I don't really think any construction can end up happening this year. I think we're going to be ready to have it out to bid fall this year and have everything lined up to be go in spring of 2026.
So nothing this year?
No, I don't think that's going to end up happening.
Okay, this is new news to me. Okay.
I think it was a stretch. I think it was kind of a stretch anyway. I mean, in theory, the project has to be put out to bid in August. And I guess if the contractor wanted to get going, maybe that's possible, but it just doesn't really seem realistic considering everything.
even small, I'm nervous about getting everything done in less than one construction season, because next year, don't we have to be done by, what's our drop dead date? August, September of 26?
Maybe Lynette can chime in on that. If my understanding was that deadline's a little bit more flexible than it was before.
Because the state absorbed the fee, ARPA money into their general fund. So it's not considered ARPA money.
Right.
Annette?
So there will be at least two grant amendments. One with the change of the funding source to the general fund, and then a second one to be able to extend it. I don't think we're gonna be able to extend beyond the 2026 December 2026 deadline without substantial documentation, but I think that it's fair to ask for through the end of 26.
So really, end of calendar year 26 is our drop dead date.
I wouldn't say it's drop, but
So
you know.
the timeline of the Northern Borders funding goes into 2027 if needed to. So.
You better use it after all the we went through.
Well, let's hold that discussion for the grant, because okay, so Peter, even doing like the pump house down at the bottom of School Street, or the building up at the school, like even minor stuff. I'm just I'm nervous by nature on these deadlines of trying to get everything done from May through the snow flies. Is that I don't have a grasp of how much construction will be involved, and it seemed like the individual hookups will be tedious, and is that realistic? What do we have, 6 months? Is that
I think, I mean, it's all, as you know, it's all super tight timelines, and I think it's just as realistic, that time frame of getting it done in one season by the right contractor, as it is to get like all these other pieces completely lined up and actually have the contractor ready to do something this fall when the weather's starting to turn. That's not to say I wouldn't rule it out. I just the contracting process itself is complicated and hard enough that getting that contractor to be like, yeah, I'm ready to start putting tanks in, at the tail end of their construction season when they're probably already trying to wrap up their projects from this year, just seems unlikely. With that said, I don't think there's any reason we need to rule it out. I just don't know that that's necessarily what we should be totally pushing for.
okay? If when we put this out to bid, can we really have some strong language on that they need to start as early as possible, and with this deadline then also the end deadline in place? I know sometimes V-Trans uses penalties if they're behind schedule. I don't know if we can think about that when we're doing.
I think we're going to need to think about that, yes, and we can work with Lynette to make sure we get that sort of thing in the contract documents. And Don Haddix, who's he's the construction engineer that works with Lynette.
One more question. The 60% design, are we targeting that for one of the April select board meetings? Share with them.
That's a good question. I'll have to go back and look and see if Lynette, if that's something we actually have to present to the select board. I'm not opposed to it, but quite frankly, I'm not sure it's going to be. We're fine tuning details and maybe it would be as simple as me pointing out a few of the bigger changes that we maybe are figuring out. But I almost wonder if we could just jump to the next time we present being at the 90% where we're like kind of have all the everything pulled together and presents it once. Lynette, any thoughts or comments on that? I can't remember. Do we have to present each of the stages to the select board?
At design, no.
Yeah, okay. I didn't think so.
That being said, the more communication, the better.
Yes, of course.
And just in closing, Peter, how are we doing overall on our timeline? Are we on track? Do things look okay? I know we with the indirect discharge permit, and we have landowner mailings, and then the easements, and the various permitting. Kind of the bigger picture. Are we kind of on track? Is there anything you're nervous about?
I mean, the whole thing, like I said, is really tight, but I think we're reasonably on track. Yes, I feel pretty good about it. With that said, there's a lot still to come together.
Anybody have questions for Peter? Bradley, Alan?
Linda, we had that discussion at the select board meeting about the tapping off at every point along the way.
Oh,
Every house.
Nubs, the
Yeah.
nubs, the nubs.
Subs, nubs.
Right, the select board wanted nubs at every place.
Oh,
Even the
I
people
think I
that did
saw
didn't-
this.
Opt out.
They want the opt-outs to actually have a connection point, and I think that makes sense. I don't think it's going to add a huge cost to do it that way, to just stub it and have the shut-off valves. So I think we can make that happen.
That would be part of the 60% design, Peter, or is it or the next level?
I'm not sure that it matters. It's not super significant other than kind of showing them.
The select board would be glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, they put it on their form for all their properties, regardless of whether they had septic capacity.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Peter? Bradley, Alan? The next.
I'm all set. Just looking forward to that variance meeting.
Good. That's what I want to hear, Lynette.
What are we gonna ask for a variance for?
So a lot of the properties, it's very challenging to strictly meet the rules in terms of where the septic tank pumping stations can go. So some of them are like potentially in the floodway, which so are the houses. Some of them, there's no way to fit the force main in without being too close to a well, or sometimes maybe the tanks need to be too close to the well. And in most cases, the situation is an improvement over what we have now. But to make things go smoother in the permitting process, we just want to talk through what we're proposing with Lynette and Ashwak so that like we're all in agreement before they get it on their plate. And then that also helps make sure that we get it right for the archaeology part of it. So we're not moving things around at the last minute. And we can get the approvals for that sort of thing. So that's what that's all about.
And it's important for the easements as well.
Yeah, that too, right? Yeah, exactly. We don't want to get an easement for it and show a plan to the landowner, and then at the very last minute be moving around and have to redo the easements, because that's not efficient.
Okay, next on the agenda was the easement, the legal review. I know we kind of covered that a little bit. Is there anything we need to cover? on that? Linda, Peter?
Conservation easement, what is that?
I wasn't,
I wasn't a sorry, that was a typo, but just the landowner easement.
we do, I mean, I guess we need to start, I thought maybe that was talking about, is it now officially the town forest? So
Yes,
the town will have to give, well, does the town have to give itself an easement, or are we all set for just installing stuff on it? Is there any,
I'll have to look at the conservation easement that sits on the forest and see if we
Yeah.
just have to notify them. I mean, they're aware of it in the beginning,
Right.
and granted it.
yeah, I
but
guess
don't
we'll
know
just
what
have
it
to
looks
keep,
like.
we'll just have to keep that piece in the back of our heads as the plans get finalized, and we have something we can send over to whoever you need to connect with, Linda.
Is our same lawyer working on that?
No.
We have
So
not
it would
discussed
be
that.
Northern Rivers, Jack Travis and Travers and,
Is he check?
he's the chair of the trust. And Vermont Community, no.
So we
what is
just-
it? Housing,
essentially-
whatever, but BHIC or whatever.
So essentially asking for a right of way, right? Is that what we're asking for?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, they know
Easement
about
right
it.
now.
All I have to do is go back and read their easement agreement to see if we're required to send them a letter or plans or what we're required to do. That's all.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion on the easement? So I guess there are two easements. So we had that discussion about the landowner easement previously. I don't know if there's anything else to discuss on that, and then the right of way for the town forest.
Yeah, and when there's the third easement, which is, finalizing something with the school.
Oh,
And I think it would be, I think we probably should be touching base with them, sooner than later. But from our end, we're also trying to pull together some of the hydrogeology work so that we can kind of go back to them and say, hey, yeah, here's what we found. Hopefully this satisfies you in terms of, your concerns, and hopefully this allows us to move forward with that official easement. I guess the question is, which attorney will end up working on that? Is that something David can handle for us? We didn't actually discuss that one at all.
I don't know, but I have the school board attorney, because I had to work with him on an easement to move Flatiron Road.
Oh, right.
And, so I can send you that.
Okay.
Last time he wanted to write it up, I'm not sure. If he's a
Okay.
control person and wants to do that, free, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Find out.
Peter, when will we have the hydrogeology that you just mentioned? Any idea?
I don't actually know. The holdup has just been being able to get the groundwater samples and do some, I think his game plan is to do some dating of what he's finding in those samples to try to make connections of groundwater seen in various places between the well and the other more superficial wells. So I don't have a time frame on that right now. I know Amy and Jeff are trying their best to find a time to get out and collect those now that things have finally thawed.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. I have any grant updates and our manhole cover grant. And the northern borders, I know we were kind of like right 100% on that, and how we are, and
Well, Seth and I were working to put together the draft animating infrastructure grant application to submit by the first. It'll be like a project pitch. And if they like the idea, it'll be a full application for the manhole covers. And for northern borders, we're continuing to maintain that connection and grant agreement, especially with the extra year it provides. We did have the coordination meeting for the environmental review. So they discussed with DEC a process for how they can work together, fulfilling everybody's needs, and then I have been working on reporting for now.
and can you remind us of the match requirement on that one?
The 1-to-1 match, so it's a $750,000 grant, so it's $750,000 match, which the project has an overabundance of, not that the ARPA funding is shifting what source it is.
And wasn't that the 125,000 the town was gonna put towards it too?
And the CRP grant.
Right.
So that ARPA grant is the match, CCRP?
The CRP from ACCD and the town ARPA funding was the original intent match.
Is that still the case?
Yes,
Okay.
we can, but there's other options now if needed.
Okay. And there's no, with what's happening in Washington right now, there's no possibility of some of this money getting clawed back.
That's why I went into the general fund. I don't
The
know,
ARPA, yeah.
I don't know about the northern borders.
Is that federally funded?
Yes.
And that's already been allocated and it's safe, or I don't know how that works.
I can double check. In a recent training I did with them, the way their money works is it's like a no year funding pool, so I'm not sure if it's money that they're spending from previous years that they already definitely have, or if it was something they were expecting a new appropriation, but it's my understanding there's no threat to that either.
Is there any way we can check?
Yeah.
Thank you. Any more discussion on grant funding? And just outreach update. I did a front porch forum post. I can't remember the date, a couple weeks back. There were no responses, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I guess there are no negative responses. I think maybe when we do the April 1st mailing, maybe I can do one that week, just after they go out in the mail, giving people a heads up, like, okay, you're gonna get a second letter, and just kind of recap some of the stuff in the first letter. Is there anything else that we want to get out to the public right now?
Is it overkill to put another one in like right now to say, hey, those folks in the village who haven't gotten the letter back, it's really important? Just to like, for those people like me who have a stack of mail that
Or reach
Might not
out if
realize.
they misplaced it.
what's that?
Or reach out if
Yeah.
they've misplaced it, we can provide you with a new copy.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be helpful. I mean, for us, it'd be easier if we can whittle it down the list and only have, 10 or somebody that we still have to reach out to versus half of them.
Yeah, I can send one out, maybe one next week and one the following week.
Okay, sounds good.
And do we have those forms?
Belinda does, Belinda does.
Belinda has them. Okay, so we could just tell them to come down to the
Mhm.
town office to fill them out.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
And then, is it okay that if Belinda's, emailing, scanning them and emailing them to you? Peter, is that working okay?
Yeah, it's been working great. Yep,
And they're going to Alex?
correct,
Amy.
yep.
Oh,
Oh, they go to
Amy.
Amy and then Amy to Alex, yep.
Okay. Anything else that we want to get out, outreach wise on the project?
I thought we talked about this meeting being dedicated to easement question and answers. Is that for the public or for us? What did that
Well,
mean?
the idea was that if
Yeah.
people had specific questions and wanted to discuss like what their future uses might be or what the process is going to be in terms of communicating with Stone and the attorney, or had questions about what this means for them, they could join a wastewater committee meeting, have everyone in one place to discuss. So they obviously didn't come together for this meeting, but is it something you still think is a good idea and want to organize for next month?
Do we have an easement template yet? I know we're working with individual landowners. Is that, I know has it been vetted by the lawyer, at least a template? I know it's going to change for each landowner, but,
No, I think he's working on that now. He hasn't provided anything yet, but we just, by the time we got everything together, we met with him last week.
it just seems like we should have that before we,
I think so. I think that would make a lot of sense.
should we just put it on next month's agenda that would be we're going to focus on the easement letter template
For
easement
April.
template. Yeah, I don't know what our lawyer's schedule is.
To discuss amongst ourselves the easement or actually have it open to the public. Not sure what you're proposing, Jim.
How much discussion do we need to have as the committee on the easement language, do you think?
I don't think much at all. I think, if it's available and you want to throw out.
We do it
folks
both at the
that
same
think-
time, I guess, is what we do it both at the same time where we can have a committee discussion about it, and then also if people want to know about it, they can come with their questions.
I think that's fine. I'd probably try to make a point of being there in person if we thought people might come. Just to make it a little, like we could have like little side chats.
So David's gonna want all their social security numbers
Um,
and they need to be notarized, so they'll all have to come to the office for the town office. Just to notarize.
I would say let's wait and coordinate via email kind of next steps on all of that.
Yeah.
I think once David's had a little more time to kind of get his work together and we can all think about how to facilitate getting them out to the landowners and then ultimately finalized.
So in my last post, I had a description that we're going to have construction would start the end of the field season this year, with most of the construction happening next year. So I'm going to update that and to say that all the construction is going to happen next year.
I think if you just put it out there, Jim, I would just table it for another month or two and we see how things go and don't completely rule that out yet.
Yeah. Yeah, we want the folks that haven't sent in their letters to still have that sense of urgency.
Yeah.
So even if we're not doing construction until next year, I'm just wondering, from DEC side, is there wiggle room to add folks if we're not actually constructing until spring of 2026 to add folks in later, over the winter, I'll say over the winter of 25, 26. Now that we're not doing any construction in 2025. I'm
Once
just
the
wondering.
bid documents go out, Jim, it'll
Yeah,
get
that
harder
way.
and harder to change it.
Right.
It's not to say we can't, but it just becomes, change orders. We can
Same
certainly,
with, it's the same with the permit, the indirect discharge program will issue that they need those final plans before that they can put it on public notice.
that's a good point, Lynette.
So that means no.
That means it would be really hard and it's probably expensive and you'd have to go through the permit process amendment.
Right.
Yeah, I think we just need to set a date and that's a drop dead date.
Right.
Okay. Any other items we want to discuss? Bradley, Alan, Bruce, Annette, Tori?
I'm good.
Did Montgomery have their vote yet?
They had a couple of votes on town meeting day and they have one coming up April 1st, which will
Oh,
be the last.
April 1st.
But the ones on town meeting day went well.
Good to hear. I hadn't heard that.
Why are there so many different ones?
They had two different petitions, one to amend their charter. And one to basically repeal their local option tax, which was also in their charter. And the other charter amendment was to limit the authority that they could use in the ordinance for connection.
I wish them luck.
Thank you.
Anything else? We need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're done. Have a beautiful spring evening, folks.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.